So yesterday we understood the concept of lagna. Now lagna is also known as ascendant. Okay, it is also called ascendant. Lagna means to combine. So what is combining over here? The Rashi which is rising from this part, which can be any Rashi among this 1, 2, 3, 4. Any Rashi can rise from this part, and that Rashi becomes lagna. It is combining to what? It is combining to the eastern line, this particular portion. It is reaching a place from where it is visible to us, and that is why we give it importance. Okay, now if you have studied, if you have seen the video, yesterday video, you must have realized that lagna is basically the rising sign from here, and it can be anyone among these signs. And the horoscope, this is represented in the horoscope how? If we like in the South Indian case, it is represented in this manner, where Rashis are fixed, like this is Aries, this is Taurus, this is Gemini, and they remain fixed in this particular method. In our North Indian system, it is not fixed. It is like it changes. So whatever appears in that circular pattern, whatever Rashi is rising, we write it here as lagna. So it can be 5. If it is 6, then it will be 7. Okay, it will move like this motion is there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember this, that there are only 12 Rashis. Okay. Now this Rashi also is a problematic thing because it is not a Vedic concept. The actual concept is related to nakshatra and not Rashi. Okay, but since we have adopted it, we are going to use that, and we are going to understand astrology with this help only. Now you already know that circle we have 360 degree. We had 12 signs or Rashis, which is a non-Vedic concept. But when we divide this 360 degree into 12, we get 30 degree. So each Rashi gets what? 30 degree, right? And we have 27 nakshatras. And this is another thing which is there. And they are referred as constellations in English. Okay. And we are going to understand it with the next slide. Let's move on to next slide. Okay. Now we have this Mesh is basically Aries. Don't get confused by looking at it, because it is a little bit overwhelming at the first sight. You might feel that there's too much in it, but you don't need to worry about it. Okay. So we have Rashis over here divided into several parts. This Rashi, which is written in Hindi, it's basically Aries. Then you have Taurus over here. Okay. You need to remember that these Rashis are not written like this in the chart. They are represented with the numbers 1, 2, and then you have Mithun as 3, Gemini as 3, Kark or Kargat or Cancer as 4. So these numbers are basically Rashis. Now we have 360 degree, and we have 27 nakshatras also. This is another thing. This is a Vedic concept. We have Ashwini, the starting nakshatra, then Bharni, then Kritika, then Rohini, Mrigsira, Adra, Punarvasu. Now, since these nakshatras were 27 and they need to be divided to 360 degrees, so it's pretty obvious that we cannot get a single or a 3 nakshatras into this division. It's not possible. It's not fully divisible by this. So what happened was, what we did was, we gave, if you look at here, look at this point, you see Aries given Ashwini a certain point, then we have Bharni as whole, but Kritika is this part, and the other part is not in Mesh Rashi, it is in Vrishabha Rashi. Why? Because when we divide this, we need to divide this 27 nakshatras into 360. This is the allocation which has to be done. Okay. So what we got was 13 degree 20 minutes for each nakshatra. If you divide it, you will get it. And 13 degree 20 minutes of Ashwini. In Mesha, when we divide it, we get the whole Ashwini over here. Then you get 13 degree 20 minutes of Bharani. But if you add 13 degree again, 13 degree 20 minute plus 13 degree 20 minutes, But if we again add the Kritika to this signal, then it will not be 30 degree, obviously. You can make it out, 20, 20, 40 plus 60, this is 0, 60 degrees max because, 60 degrees max, so we add this 1 over here, this is 14, 14 plus 30 is 27, 27 plus 13 is, we get what, 40 degree, right? So this cannot be, Kritika cannot be 13 degree 20 minutes. So what we did was, we took certain part of Kritika, which is 3 degree 20 minutes, and the rest 10 degree will be transferred to this part. This part is 10 degree. Why? Because if you minus 13 degree 20 minutes, 13 degree with this, 13 20 minutes with this, you will get 10 degree over here. The rest is 10 degree. So this is how they were allocated. And one thing which is very important to understand is that these nakshatras are fixed. If you're talking about Mesh Rashi, then the first nakshatra will be Ashwini, second will be Bharni, third will be Kritika, some part of Kritika. Then the other part, the 10 degree part will be in Vrishab, Taurus Rashi. Okay. Then Taurus we have, you'll see that this is 10 degree, this is 13 degree 20 minutes. You can see that it's complete. And then you have certain degree in, again it is going to Mithuna. Some part is there in Mithun Rashi. See, if I make a line, you can make it, you can see that some part of Mithuna is getting the nakshatra Mrigsira. So we have Mrigsira, then we have Adra, we have Punarvasu. Now Punarvasu again, it's some part is in Mithun Rashi, some part is in Karka Rashi. So this is how the nakshatras were allocated to the 12 signs, and 27 nakshatras were allocated in 360 degree also. The two divisions were done. First was the division of these nakshatras into Rashis, and then the same thing was done for the whole thing. Okay, how they were divided in 360 degree. It is important to understand that Rashi is not a Vedic concept, it's a non-Vedic concept. Earlier only the nakshatras were used, but nowadays in the modern astrology we use nakshatras and Rashis as well. And as we have seen previously, this point is basically the Rashi which is placed. Now the fourth concept, which is related to planets. This is also a confusing concept because there are 9 planets actually in our solar system, and they also need to be divided, but actually they are moving regularly. For when you take a birth, certain planet will be at some point, and then it will move forward. Okay, or in some way it is also mentioned as retrogression, but that's an entirely different thing. It's not actual movement, it's a visible movement. So 9 planets were also they need to be allocated to these 12 signs. So there was no allocation required. Why? Because these planets, they keep on moving. So at a certain point of time, suppose Saturn is here in Mesh Rashi, and where in 13 degree 20 minutes, that means if Saturn is at say 10 degree, it is at this Ashwini nakshatra Mesh Rashi. Okay. Now this will stay over here for 2.5 years actually. This is the position of Saturn. Saturn is a very slow planet. It moves very slowly. So it stays in the sign for too long. And when we make a chart, in the Vedic chart which we were talking about earlier, what we do is we place the Saturn over here. It's the same, this thing is actually nothing. It's basically the diagram of the sky only. The planets, they keep on moving. So suppose it was there for in certain sun year, it was here. Now after 2.5 years, it will move to this place. So whenever you are born, whatever the position of the planet is, that planet will be placed over there. Okay. So suppose Jupiter was here, it will be placed in Mithun Rashi, it will be placed here, or Moon was here, then it will be placed here, Sun was here, or Mercury was here. So they were placed like this is how the planets are placed. They keep moving. But when you are born, when you take a birth, certain planets will be positioned at a certain point. So at that point, what we do is we place the planets over there. So if it's a South Indian chart, we can place Saturn over here, right? We place Moon in Karka, we can place it here. And suppose in the North Indian chart, lagna was Singh or Leo. So what we will do is we will write ASC, which is a short form ascendant, or LG, which is a short form for ascendant, to to make it clear that this is the lagna. Earlier I told you about the house concept. Now I told you that we are taking the North Indian chart only right now. The house concept is simple. We have this as first house, this is second house, and these are fixed in North Indian chart. First house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house, seventh house. This is fixed. Okay. You need to understand that nakshatras, rashis and planets all have certain characteristics, and those characteristics define a human being. Okay. Now in this case, you'll see that Mesh is written over here, which is Aries, and Mangal, which is Mars, is written over here. Why? Because Aries as a sign is related to Mars. Okay. What does it mean? That Aries or Mesh Rashi is ruled by Mars. This is fixed, so it's not going to change. Okay. Second Rashi is Taurus or Vrishab, and it is ruled by Venus. This you have to remember. Okay. These rulers are fixed and they have a certain characteristics also. Like Mars is an angry planet. It's a planet of vigor. It's a planet of courage. It's a planet of quarreling. It's a planet of war. So when we talk about Mars, we actually see those patterns in astrology, in chart. Okay. When we talk about Venus, it's a Saumya planet. Okay. It's a planet of love. It's a planet of art. So all these planets, all these nakshatras have a certain value. Now, if we are talking about casting a chart, then it will be very, very difficult, because casting a chart requires mathematical knowledge. And to make it easier, there are certain softwares which are available on internet. You just have to put a date of birth, time of birth and place of birth, and it will give you the exact chart. The North Indian or South Indian or whatever do you want, you can change that placement also. I have given the links to those softwares and applets also. Android applets are also there, which are free. So you can download them and make your own chart. So in this pattern, which you need to understand is that the rising sign is the ascendant, and that ascendant is placed in the lagna. Because lagna means combination, combination, where the things are combining to each other. Like the first Rashi, which is Aries, you will also come across in the books where it is written that Aries is a Agni Tattva Rashi, it is a Hasva Rashi, it is a Andhaka Rashi, and don't get confused by those terms, because they are advanced terms which are used in Jyotish. The basic thing which you need to understand is how to configure a chart and how to use it for our own purpose. Now the software you can make it very easily, but you have to learn the basic concept that these things, like this first is Mesh Rashi, number 1 should give you a visual perspective. Okay, this is Mesh Rashi. 2, okay, it is Taurus. You will not see in the software, you will never see that it is Mesh written over there or Taurus written over there. They don't write it, they just keep the numbers. So numbers have to be visualized and remember that 1 is Mesh Rashi and it is ruled by Mars, 2 is Vrishabha Rashi and ruled by Venus, 3 is Gemini, which is Mithuna Rashi and it is ruled by Mercury, 4 is Karka Rashi and it is ruled by Moon. So all these things have to be remembered. You can see it here, like Kark is ruled by Moon, and the nakshatras all these, the Punarvasu, the Pushya and the Ashlesha. One thing which you will come across, this is a very important concept. If you look carefully, the Mesha, the starting point, has Ashwini as 13 degree 20 minutes, full Ashwini is there, and it is the starting point. Okay, this is called Gandamoola. And in Karka Rashi you will see that though Punarvasu is half, Pushya is half, but Ashlesha is ending over here, this point. See carefully, Kark is ending over here, Ashlesha is ending over here, and it is called Gandanta. This is a very important concept in astrology or in Jyotish. Why? Because the Rashi is ending over here, the nakshatra is ending over here, and this is a point where the culmination of energies is happening. So obviously this thing is getting completed and we have next Rashi, Singh, starting from here. So one thing is complete, another is starting, so it's a combination, it's a culmination point. It's like what do you call it, a cross rate. So obviously the energy is high over here, and that is why Gandant and Gandamoola both are considered dangerous points. You might have heard that the person is born in Gandamoola, so he has to do Shanti for that. There is a prescribed Shanti in Vedic literature which is to be used in that case. Why? Because here there is a culmination. This is a turning point. So it becomes very important. This you have to learn certain things. If you want to learn astrology, then you have to learn certain things like Mesh Rashi is 1, 2 Rashi, hai na? All that concepts have to be learned, and then you will be able to understand the basic chart. Then you can read about the things also, like Mars is a planet of Agni. It carries the Agni Tattva. It's a fiery planet. Now when they say it is Hasta, so small planet, so it will give you it will be used in astrology predictions. How? Suppose the Rashi is Mesh in this particular sign, in top sign, lagna is Mesh. Now Mesh is a Hasva Rashi. Hasva Rashi means it's a small Rashi. So if suppose a person wants to know about his height, for example, he has to study where the Mars is placed. Suppose Mars is placed in Dirgha sign. This is a Dirgha sign. When you read the literature on astrology, you will see that Taurus is mentioned as a Dirgha sign, and Mars suppose is placed over here. We have lagna over here. Lagna ruler is Mars and placed over this sign, because these planets, they keep moving. They don't stay at one place. Now this is a Hasva planet sitting in a Dirgha sign. So naturally the height will not be Hasva. Why? Because Mars, the ruler of this height, you consider it as a house. Okay. House means, suppose it's like general house I'm talking about, and the Malik, the ruler of that house is Mars. It is sitting in another house, in another person's house. So, but Mars rules, though it rules a Hasva sign, it is sitting in a Dirgha sign. So it will not be, the person will not have a smaller height or a little height. He will be middle height or somewhere like that. Planets also have these kind of heights placed on them. Like Mars have a different height, Saturn is taller. So all these things have to be combined for final prediction. So astrology is not an individualistic analysis. It is based on multiple things. How? I will give you an example in this case. Just to make, I know that the person who is watching this video, they don't understand astrology completely, but I will try to give an example to to make you understand how we can put it into use. So suppose we make a chart over here. We have rising sign, lagna as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 and 2. Suppose the ruler of this sign, this is Gemini actually, and the ruler of this sign is, which you have to remember, is Mercury. Okay. Mercury is a planet which does not leave Sun. It is always near Sun. You will always see that it is either here or in the previous position. Okay. Now, how do we ascertain a chart? That is a very complex method where we use nakshatras, rashis, then there are divisions of namansh, dashmansh also, which is a deeper part of astrology. But for the time being, let's understand that the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury is placed in which house? This is 9th house. How? This is 9th house. This is the first house. I told you houses are fixed. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and obviously this is the 9th house. Now Mercury is a planet of knowledge. If you read the characteristics of Mercury, you will come across this point. And 9th house is the house of spiritual knowledge. Now, since it is the lord of the lagna, Mercury is the lord of the lagna, because this is lagna, this is the lord, it is sitting in 9th house, so the person will be knowledgeable to some extent. It is not a fixed thing. I am just giving you an example. It is not necessary that he will be knowledgeable, but at first we will see that he might be knowledgeable. There are other parts also which needs to be seen to check knowledge. What parts? 2nd house is the house of basic education. Then you have higher education, then you have more higher education. This is the knowledge, this is the part of where we which deals with the 5th house of intuition and internal knowledge. So all these parts have to be checked. Then we need to check moon, which rules the mind. Suppose the person is mentally disabled, how will he earn, how will he learn anything? So for that, everything has to be seen. So most often you will see the people doing mistake by reading some book and they come across this point, okay, Mercury is sitting in 9th house, so I become knowledgeable. No, 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 no. It will not work like this. Astrology never works like this. You have to check each and every point to come to a final conclusion. So that concludes our second part of astrology. Thank you and have a nice day to all of you.